Boston, November 1903. A steamship eases into the harbor, and down the gangway comes a small, dapper young Italian with a mustache, a suitcase, and, by his own count, $2.50 in his pocket. Years later, he'd tell reporters exactly what else he was carrying. $250 in cash, he said, and $1 million in hopes. Every case on this wall, the locked pool, the Friday live streams, all of them, every single one is a copy of a copy of a copy of what this man did in 8 months of 1920. His name was Charles Ponzi. They named the crime after him. Tonight you'll see why he earned it. This is case file number 3, the original. For 16 years, America sanded Ponzi down. Dishwasher, waiter, fired for shortchanging customers, a bank job in Montreal that ended with 3 years in a Canadian prison for forging a check, then 2 more years in Atlanta for smuggling immigrants across the border. By 1919, he's 37, broke, and back in Boston answering mail. And in that mail, one day, he finds a small square of paper that changes financial history, an international reply coupon. A little voucher you could buy in one country and swap for postage stamps in another. Here's the thing, after the World War, European currencies had collapsed, so a coupon bought for a penny's worth of lyre in Rome was worth several cents in stamps in Boston. Buy low there, redeem high here, on paper, a completely legal money machine, on paper. In practice, you'd need to move warehouses of paper coupons across the Atlantic and convince 2 postal bureaucracies to cash you out. The machine could never actually run at scale, but Ponzi had learned something in all those kitchens and prison yards. The machine doesn't have to run. People just have to believe it runs. December 1919. He opens an office on School Street and gives it a name with all the right muscles. The Securities Exchange Company, the promise, 50% profit in 45 days. Double your money in 90. It starts with a handful of neighbors. They get paid, on time, in full, 50%, and that's the whole trick, partner. The first payouts are the advertising. Those neighbors told everyone. And where was the money coming from? From the next people in line. It would always only ever come from the next people in line. By the summer of 1920, School Street looks like a bank run in reverse. People fighting to get their money in. Clerks stacking cash in desk drawers and closets and waste paper baskets. A network of commissioned agents fanning out across New England. By contemporary accounts at the peak, $1 million a week, $20 million in 8 months. Hundreds of millions in today's money. Ponzi bought himself a mansion in Lexington, a controlling stake in an actual bank, the Hanover Trust. He rode to the office in a cream-colored limousine and posed for photographers with the straw hat and the cane. Admirers called him the greatest Italian who ever lived, and the story goes he'd wave that off with a grin. Columbus, he said, had merely discovered America. He had discovered money. And here's the beat that shows you how good he was. In late July, when the first doubts hit the papers, a crowd formed on School Street demanding their deposits back. A run. The thing that kills every scheme. Ponzi's response? He paid. Every single person who asked, in full, on the spot, while walking the line himself, handing out coffee and donuts, tipping the hat, smiling like a man without a care in the world. The panic melted. Half the line got to the front and reinvested. Think about the nerve of that. He put out a fire with the last of the fuel and called it proof the furnace worked. People cheered him in the street. The little immigrant beating the big banks at their own game. Now do the math with me, because in 1920, exactly 1 man bothered to. The 50% had to come from somewhere. Remember Celsius? Same question, a century earlier. If you can't see where the yield comes from, you're the yield. To back the money Ponzi had taken in, roughly 160 million postal coupons needed to exist and be moving across the ocean. The actual number of coupons in circulation, worldwide, about 27,000. The man who ran that calculation was Clarence Barron, the financial publisher whose name is still on a magazine you may have heard of. The Boston Post printed his analysis on July 26th, and Barron added a detail that should hang framed over every investor's desk. Ponzi, offering 50% to strangers, kept his own personal money in ordinary banks, earning 5. Watch the hands, not the mouth. Some things don't change in 100 years. What follows is the fastest collapse on this wall. 18 days from king to sell. August the 2nd, Ponzi's own publicity man, William McMasters, turns on him in print. Declares Ponzi is now hopelessly insolvent, says the front page of the Post. August 11th, the Post digs up his Montreal mugshot. The genius of School Street has a forgery conviction under another name. The same day, the state bank commissioner seizes Hanover Trust, Ponzi's own bank, gone from under him. And on August 12, 1920, Charles Ponzi puts on his best suit, tips the straw hat one last time, and surrenders to federal agents. He pleaded guilty to mail fraud that November, 5 years federal. Massachusetts added 7 to 9 more on top. The Boston Post won a Pulitzer for taking him down. And the investors, the neighbors, the waiters, the newlyweds who'd handed over wedding money. After years of bankruptcy proceedings, they got back roughly 30 cents on the dollar. Did prison teach him anything? It taught him geography. Out on release, he surfaced in Florida selling prime building lots, 23 to the acre, underwater at high tide. Another conviction. In 1934, America finally deported him to Italy. On the dock, reporters asked if he had anything to say to the people of Boston who'd lost everything. His answer belongs on this board, word for word. Even if they never got anything for it, it was cheap at that price. I had given them the best show that was ever staged in their territory since the landing of the Pilgrims. The best show. That's what you were to him, partner. An audience. Charles Ponzi died on January 18, 1949, in the charity ward of a hospital in Rio de Janeiro. The man who once took in $1 million a week left exactly enough to cover his own burial. About $75. Case 3. The original, and the 3 oldest rules on the wall. His rules, really. 1. The first payout is the bait. A scheme that pays early pays with someone else's deposit. That's not proof it works, it's proof it's hungry. 2. To Barron's math, every scheme has a physical reality underneath. Coupons, tokens, liquidity pools, count the coupons. There are never enough coupons. And 3, 100 years. And the scheme hasn't changed, only the costume. Postal coupons, locked liquidity, 17% yield, same machine, same fuel. The fuel is you. 3 case files on the wall now, the token that was never locked, the man who streamed his own fraud, and the original in the straw hat, who taught them all. The drawer's full and Friday keeps coming. Subscribe, partner. And if someone's promising you 50%, send them my regards.